Hi everybody, John Cena here and welcome to FunkQuest Season 2, Episode 16. And we have two brand new Funksters to the quest today, which is always very interesting. So because we're looking at your picture, we're going to go ladies first. Laura, tell me who you are, where you're from.
I am Lora Cheadle. I am an author, a speaker, and a life choreographer from Littleton, Colorado. And I help people who feel like the rug has been pulled out from under them find and trust their center again.
I think most people being on the show feel like their rug's been pulled out from under them after 20 minutes playing at this. Pablo, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
My name is Pablo Gonzalez. I am a quintessential Miamian. I was born in Latin America, grew up in the U.S. in Miami. Pretty typical. I'm an audience cultivation strategist. All I care about is how do you get attention on stuff, and I help business owners create content creation strategies that drive the attention of their clientele and the people that they want to do business with into a community so they can get to know each other and add value that way, because I believe that the future of business development is community creation.
Absolutely right. Well, let's get going and do some community creation now. So if you think you are funky enough, send me a tweet, I'm at John Senior 1. These guys are going to make it look easy, but it's actually harder than it looks. Get ready to vote. If you are new to the show, go look below this video or MP3, and there will be some buttons to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. But make sure you've got, in about 10, 15 minutes time, a piece of paper and a pencil. You can vote for one of these ladies or gents to go through to the second round, which is kind of cool for one of them. If you think you've got a better answer than one of these guys, then join in with hashtag FunkQuest. So with that said, I'm going to get started. I'm going to make this I'm a bit D-Mob happy because it's the end of the first round. I'm a little bit D-Mob happy, and I'm going to pick the questions today. All right, it's just humour me. But we are going to go ladies second because it is a little bit of an advantage to go second. So Pablo, I'm going to pick Elvis and Nixon, right? You get 1 minute. You get 1 minute. When you are old, what do you think children will ask you to tell stories about?
Jonathan, the easy one here is the beginning of the pandemic, but I'm not going to go there, right? Because I'm positive. I think we're going to get over this thing. This is not going to be a Terminator 2 scenario. You know what I'm fascinated by? I'm fascinated by the fact that 10 years ago when I would travel around, I couldn't leave my house without studying a map and knowing where I was going. And now it's so ubiquitous to just be able to say, oh, I'm going to go to this one place. I don't even have to think about directions because it's on your phone. I think that when I'm older, the next generation is going to talk about what was it like to navigate a world where you didn't know exactly where everything was and everything was at the palm of your hands and you could never get lost. What was it like to get lost somewhere?
That's a good answer. What was it like to get lost? When your batteries run out on your phone or your sat-nav, that has a terror all of its own, right? Because you don't know what to do.
It's terrifying. It's more scary than being on your first ever British game show.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's an international game show. We just beam across borders. It's the internet, right? Laura, you're going to get the same question, which is Elvis and Nixon. What do you think children will ask you to tell stories about?
I think they're going to ask me to tell them stories about connection and how it was when I was little and how we connected with people, you know, whether it was one-on-one or using like that old school device, the telephone.
Yeah.
I think they're going to really be curious about how we connected with people and one-on-one and visiting with people instead of just Skyping people or Zooming people. And I think they're going to be really curious about how to have a relationship one-on-one and how to have a relationship outside of technology and how we did things like dating without apps.
Or how you had, if you got a bat or a ball or whatever, how you went to somebody's house and you're going to game. You didn't get on Instagram and say, you know, what does this celebrity think about this thing? You
Right.
go on to, if that guy wasn't in, you go on to the next guy's house.
Exactly. And how do you have a conversation that is face-to-face? And what do you do?
Like we're doing now.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Good answer. Should also say, by the way, that we're after funky answers. We're after insights, thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and that should base who you vote for to go through to the next round. And it's going to be Laura to go first. I'm going to pick the oil rig. What is your favourite word?
Ooh, Oh, my favorite word is scintillate. Scintillate is such a good word because it's sparkly, and I'm all about sparkle, but it also makes you think, because when you hear the word, you think about the sound, the scintillate. You also think about the way it feels on your tongue. And you think about a whole variety of things. You think about food. Can food be scintillating? Can conversation be scintillating? Can social media be scintillating? And just the sound of the word seems sparkly and sounds sparkly. And that's why it's my favorite word, because nobody goes, oh, that's scintillating, and they drop it. It always sparks something else. And then they always think about, is it scintillating? Is it not scintillating? What does that actually mean? Ooh, that's a fun word to say. And it just causes you to do that deep dive into your brain.
Good word. Words get worn out, don't they?
Yeah, they absolutely do.
They get worn out.
Right.
Yeah.
And the connotation, I love the connotation of, well, any word, but scintillating especially, because it doesn't, there's the denotation and there's the connotation, and it just makes you think a little bit differently. And it's got that level of excitement.
I'm just going to say to anybody, if you're listening to this, see if you can spell scintillating while I change the next, get the next question, because I can't. What was it? Oil rig. Pablo, you're going to get the oil rig. What's your favorite word?
Man, I'm so grateful I didn't have to go first on that one. That was difficult. Laura crushed it with scintillate. That was
a good answer. Yeah, it was.
That was really good. Listen, I think my favorite word is propinquity. It's something that I learned not that long ago. It sounds kind of silly. It rolls off the tongue. You can say however you want, propinquity. And propinquity means familiarity with something, the being comfortable around someone. And for me, where that comes in is the fact that, Laura, I couldn't be more with you, right? I'm obsessed with human connection. I'm obsessed with how people get together, this whole feeling of community. And I believe that the reason why we are not connecting is because we don't feel that propinquity. We don't feel that attachment to the people that we are seeing, because now that we're communicating in these different forums that aren't as interpersonal, that aren't as familiar, you start to feel this distance from the other, and you don't realize that we are all really, more alike than we are different. You start to lose that propinquity, communication breaks down, and quite frankly, I just like how it sounds.
Right, so Pablo's going to go first. It's going to be Keith. When was the last time you regretted something you said?
Oh man, last time I regretted something I said. I regret, I am one of these people that, because I'm so obsessed with human connection, that I am always just analyzing and reanalyzing every conversation that I've had. And I don't know if, are you like this, Jonathan? Does this happen to everybody? But like, I'll go over a joke that I didn't get right, something that I walked into a room and I felt like I didn't make it as good as possible, right? Like I'm always self-criticizing and self-analyzing everything, that every like piece of communication and every moment that I'm just like, could I have made this better? Could this have happened? So to be perfectly honest, there's too many to really think
every
about,
day.
because I'm always in my head.
What does that feel like in like your head? Does it weigh you down or what?
Yeah, it definitely weighs me down, man. It can definitely lead to analysis by paralysis, but I also think it's the double-edged sword, that it comes from a good place. It comes from a place of always wanting to improve the situation and always wanting to like self-reflect to then take that lesson and move it forward. So it's a little bit maddening, but I'll take it, man.
Thank you for sharing that. Not everybody kind of admits to that. Good, thank you for that. Laura, you got the same question, which was Keith. And when was the last time you regretted something you said?
That was yesterday. I think anybody who's a parent of adult children maybe can relate to this. But my son is 22, and there's things that he is choosing to do, like go out in public during the coronavirus and attend a party. And it's really difficult because I have very strong opinions on that, and I want to express myself as his mother, as somebody who cares, but I also don't want to shut down the relationship and always be criticizing him. And I realized the first thing out of my mouth was negative. You can't do that. And then I thought that's not very respectful. And finding that balance, especially with adult children, and especially when they're doing something that you really don't think is right. It's very difficult to find the right words and to find the right balance of communication. And I realized I led with the negative instead of leading with the positive, or leading with that compassion connection piece. I understand that you want to do this. I understand that it's your birthday. I understand that other people are doing it. However, can we think about this? And I really regretted the order of communication in that conversation with him.
Difficult conversation. Yeah, thank you for that again. Tricky. I said it's harder than it looks if you're listening. Take some guts to come on the show and fess up to stuff like that. Laura, you're going to have the ZX81 computer. What on the same theme? What popular kids thing annoys you?
Fortunately, not a lot of things annoy me because I think a lot of things are really funny. But what does annoy me is a lot of the video games. I think video games are great, but the first-person shooter type of a game, I love the history, but I hate the fact that there's so much focus on the killing and the blood and the violence and the splatter. And people and kids get desensitized to that. And I don't like the violence. And I understand the strategy and I understand the history and I understand it's important to learn, but it annoys me that it's this constant, loud, in-your-face violence. And it's just the blood and the gore that really annoys me. It's good to have some history. It's good to still remain connected to how violent and graphic something is at times. But oh my goodness, the proliferation of violence and blood really bugs me.
What I can't understand is why those games, well, it's obviously marketing and hype, but why those games do so well and why kind of bows and arrows and swords, which I would imagine would be quite painful and violent, they do obviously very much less well. I don't understand.
Yeah,
anyway,
I don't get that either.
Yeah, bows and arrows and swords, quite painful. Pablo, you got the same question, ZX81, which was what popular kids thing annoys you?
You know, I'm kind of a giant kid myself, so I get along really well with kids and I'm into all that stuff. My thing is not so much, I don't know if this counts, right? It is the way that adults treat kids these days. I don't know why we dumb it down so much for kids. I think we're really creating these like false environments for them to come up in a way that, and it's not an intergenerational thing. I don't think that they're soft. I don't think any of that. I think as adults, we're creating these false environments where it's like, you are worried about critiquing someone else's kid. I'm a big believer that it takes a village. And I know that when I was messing up, my aunt or whatever lady down the street would be more than happy to tell me that I'm being an idiot and that I just need to do something one way. And I think people are just too guarded in giving kids feedback these days. I think it's good to expose them to that type of stuff. I think it's good for them to understand struggle early on so that they can be exposed to struggle later and not have to freak out, because that is, quite frankly, something that I've dealt with a lot in my life. So to me, that's it. I don't need to go on with
That's a good answer. Yeah, I know. We should have kids. We should have kids FunkQuest. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Wow.
That would be interesting because people want to win, and that's life, right? It's not. Yeah. There's no participation medals in this. You know, you either get through or you don't. Last question. Flag of Spain. Is it Pablo to go first? Yes. If you had a bucket list, when would you start to fulfill it? Or if you do have one, what's on it?
I mean, I'm fulfilling my bucket lists all the time. You know, my biggest thing that I haven't done that I don't really have a path to yet is I would love to cage dive with great white sharks. I am a surfer. I love the ocean. I'm an avid environmentalist. I've gone skydiving. I've done all those things. I just don't know when I'm going to be able to do that one. But as far as when I start to fill my bucket list, I think you'd be filling your bucket list all the time. I don't believe in, I learned something really profound at one point. That is, if you're going to start a business because you want to at some point do the things that you love, because you want the freedom to do the things that you love, that is a failing mindset. The freedom is in the doing, right? Like if you are not revolving your life around doing the things that you love currently, not figuring out a way to do it later, then that is by default a path to unhappiness. So I'm fulfilling my bucket list every day. One of my big things was to move to a place where I could surf often. So I moved to Northeast Florida from Miami, and that's just one of those things.
If anybody's listening that can provide Pablo with a shark type experience, then get in touch, because we could kind of.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Laura, you got the same question, which is the flag of Spain. And if you had a bucket list, when would you start to fulfill it?
I do have one, and I start to fulfill it whenever I feel a little bit of fear or anxiety around one of those things that's on my list. Because when I feel that sensation around it, I know that's the time to lean into it. I know that's the time that I'm actually going to grow the most and get the most good out of it. When something feels comfortable, it's just kind of fun and it's enjoyable, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when there's a little bit of scintillation, yeah, then I know that's the time to fulfill that thing. And the time is always now, because we never know what's going to happen in life. And if we're always waiting to lose 20 pounds, get some extra money, find the right relationship, it's never going to happen. So I love the idea of when it feels a little bit nervous, when there's sensation around it, go. Do it right then. When's the time when you feel a little nervous? That's the time.
Good answer. Right. So that's it. Good. Different episode that with different questions. I'm glad I did that. Feeling a bit happy now. So who won? Well, I don't know who won. See, the thing is, we're looking for thoughts, ideas, suggestions, things that we didn't know 10, 20 minutes ago, and we do know now by just spending a little time randomly talking. So if you think that Lora gave you the biggest insight, send an email to Lora@FunkyThinkers.com. And if you think that Pablo gave you the biggest insight, send an email to Pablo@FunkyThinkers.com, and you'll just get an acknowledgement, and the one who gets the most votes will go through to the second round. Simple as. Lora, how can we contact you and find out more about you?
You can go to my website, Lora Cheadle, LoraCheadle.com, and you can find me across all social media.
Should have said as well, yes, note the spelling. If you're scribbling that down on a piece of paper, go back and cross out Lora, as in most people would spell it, and Lora. So do that now before you forget. Pablo, how can we contact you and find out more about you?
My website, connectwithpablo.com. If you show up there, there's about a 5-minute video that teaches you how to walk into any room and feel comfortable and start networking immediately. I find that that's what people have the most problem with. All my monikers are connectwithpablo.com on social media, and I have a podcast called Chief Executive Connector, which I would love for you to listen to. And that's it.
Fantastic. Lora and Pablo, thank you so much for rounding out the first round of season 2, and we'll speak soon. Thanks so much, and take care.
Thanks, Jonathan. Great job, Lora.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, thanks so much for making it to the end of this episode. If you've enjoyed it, please share it with your friends. I have a few people you might want to share it with. Your partner, your parents, your grandma and granddad, your neighbours, your hairdresser, your tea lady, your gym instructor, your swimming coach, postman, the bin man, your cat, your dog, Father Christmas, Mr. Trump, Mr. Putin, Cristiano Ronaldo.